You know, life is far from fair. At times in our youth, we may have the misguided idea or assumption that life is fair, that things are just and upright and discerning and equal, but they aren't. The day Adam and Eve chose to go against the law, a catastrophic moment took place in our history. And the lineage of that consequence trickles its way throughout all dispensation of time. And so life is not fair. It just isn't. It never will be, because this world is fallen. And in a fallen world, things aren't just. Innocent people die. Children die. There are things that are out of our control. There are things through our free will that we can certainly have some measurement of control with. But there are other things that are outside of our control. The weather is by its most part out of our control, yet corrupt individuals would have us believe that we can control the weather if we are taxed enough. What a farce. Looney Tune world. There are things we can't control, like the body we are born in, the vessel of conduit you and I walk this earth through. We are either born male or female. We are born with a given skin pigmentation. That is out of our control. Yet again, corrupt individuals would have us believe that somehow it is in our control. And therein the lunacy of all those who profess such idiocy. It's not a fair world. It's not a just world. When children say, well, that's not fair, you're right, son. You are right, daughter. It's not a fair world. People you love will leave this earth. And you will be broken. And you will find yourself in sorrow. And we are only on this earth for a small vapor of a time. And then it's off to the eternal realm, where through the very short time you've walked on this earth, decisions you've made will echo in eternity, either in eternal torment or paradise. But this world is not fair. Does that mean we are void of any hope or peace? No, that's not true either. We have hope and peace through the Christ, the man named Jesus, God on earth, who walked among us for several years in the first century, fulfilling the prophets and his ministry, his birth, his life, his death, burial, resurrection, witness, and ascension, his gospel. There is hope there to persevere through all the trials and temptations, all the persecution and hostility of this life, the loss of loved ones, health decay, diseases and viruses, Natural disasters, earthquakes, tornadoes, hurricanes, typhoons, lions and tigers and bears, volcanoes. It's a fallen world. And humanity is wise to remember how we got here, what causes it. Lawlessness is what causes it, sin, when we choose to go against the law. This life isn't fair. Nothing fair about it. Can we have brief moments of joy and pleasure? Absolutely. One can find companionship. One can find a healthy and growing marriage, a healthy and growing church. One can find support group, motivation. If one's heart is guided by the passion of humility and benevolence, if one makes his or her life selfless and thoughtful towards others, purpose is given, and hope and peace can be attained eternally. But if the only item we have to cling to is this fallen world, then we are most miserable, most wretched and miserable. Individuals walk through this earth. Most will never seek the purpose of life. I used to hate God so much that I stopped believing in Him for a while, for a long while, because I just didn't want to figure things out. It's much easier to blame Him and live a lawless life than to actually learn of Him through His scriptures and understand why all these evil and desperate and sorrowful things happen on this earth. It's easier just to say it's God's fault. He's all powerful and loving. Why does He permit so much evil to take place? Why does He permit children to die of cancer? Well, as a parent, a mother or a father, parents, we love our children. Do we put a gun to their head and threaten their life if they don't do what we tell them to do? Now, in their infancy, they need guidance, don't they? They need discipline. Absolutely. But are you going to tell your 26-year-old son with a gun to his head that he needs to, clean up his room? So what if he chooses not to clean up his room? He is independent. He's going to have a cluttered room. So God loves us and gives us free will. He wants us to follow Him faithfully. He wants us to love His Son and to abide by the laws of His kingdom. But if we choose not to do so, people get hurt. Innocent people die. So that's one causation of the evil element we find in this fallen world. What of disease and virus and cancer? What of natural disaster? It's a coordinated necessity that has come about upon the moment Adam and Eve chose to break the law. And we are wise to recognize just how profound of an impact it was when Adam and Eve chose to disobey the law and their fall out of the garden, and what that created on this earth. That even nature in of itself fell, and it made humanity vulnerable to every form of hostility. Again, it's easy to blame God, but it's not God's fault. It's sin's fault. And we chose to sin. And now we have become the recipients of the consequences. So yeah, it's not a fair world. It's not fair here. There's no justice. Ultimate justice, I should say. A great many have been robbed of such things. But we must focus on Christ. I've tried every other way. There is no other way but to know Jesus, the Christ of the Scriptures, mind you, because out there you have an ocean of individuals who have since created Christianity in their own image. I'm not speaking of those things. Those things don't lead to heaven. I'm speaking of the true Christ that was witnessed and recorded in the first century, in which you and I can read of, prophesied through the 39 books of the Old Testament and the 27 books of the New Testament. That is indeed the only location I have been able to find peace and perseverance through the unfairness of this fallen world. Find companionship, have a pure, humble heart, be kind, be strong, be courageous, stand up against evil, defend what is right, have integrity. Find companionship. Find yourself a partner for life that will love you. Be part of a faithful and healthy and growing congregation, a loving congregation, forgiving, edifying, building up, encouraging. We need it. In this fallen world, we need it. We don't need no Sanhedrin. We don't need no Pharisee, no Diotrephic spirit. We need Christ and His love. Anyways, for what it's worth, a few thoughts. I'm just here waiting on my wife. She was inside the grocery store getting a few groceries. Sorry, babe, I was live. I'm live right now.
That's fine.
I saw you call, but I couldn't pick it up. I would have dropped the feed, I think.
That's alright, I figured it out.
You figured it out? Were you able to find what you were looking for?
Well, yeah, it's pretty empty in there.
It must be pretty empty. I mean, it's crazy. You can tell it's the season. I mean, it's just jam-packed in the parking lot. People are going in and out as just, you know, it's filled with people. We had to come pick up some grocery items for prepping and getting ready for our fellowship meal on Sunday, making a ham chowder of sorts. It's very tasty. It's very yummy. Fry up some ham. You cube it up. Onions, cauliflower, broccoli, bacon, cream corn, mushroom sauce, cheese sauce, stock, broth, you know, vegetable broth, stuff like that. There's several items in it. I put it all in together. It makes a yummy meal. So we needed to come pick up a few items we had missed out. And it's very busy in the city at this time. Zombie nation. But anyways, yeah, so now it's time to go back home. I had a few minutes just to share some thoughts. A bit discouraging today on several fronts. Things just... Not only has there been, you know, all kinds of discouraging news, but all sorts of things aren't working properly. So at times life seems a bit overwhelming. And I remember living life in its overwhelming burden without having Christ, and that was most difficult. So you run to all sorts of other things, you know, substance abuse or other lawless paths or options, thinking that somehow is going to fix the burden and the consequence and the pain and the sorrow. And It doesn't. It just amplifies it. It may numb it. It may numb the pain for a little bit, but it doesn't. It doesn't take care of the issue. But with Christ, with Jesus, we follow him faithfully through the 27 books of his law of love and mercy and grace. Well, therein we find practical application. Change your heart, change your mind, try to focus on the blessings. They are there and they are abundant. And we need to focus on them. If Adam and Eve would have remained focused on all the wonderful blessings, they would not have fallen prey to the temptation of this one thing they should have stayed away from, And so with perseverance and practical application, again, find yourself companionship, true friends that love Christ and will love you. And find marriage, healthy marriage, children if the opportunity is available, a healthy growing church, friendship, be benevolent, be kind, love people, love our enemies. It may just change some of them if we express kindness towards them while they hate us so much. Pray often. And when in deep sorrow over the loss of loved ones, humble ourselves to God in prayer and beg his mercy and his forgiveness and express our concerns and requests, and he'll hear us. He loves us. Well, anyway, some thoughts. All right, guys, stay focused, stay positive. And that's about it. Now, where do I go to end this, should I say? Because I'm live on this. I usually don't go live on my mobile on this channel, but I figured just try. So I got to figure out what I got to do here. Maybe it's that button. Is it that button? Are you sure you want to stop streaming? Yes, I am sure.